Those A24 trailers, man, they'll get you. They'll get you good. So the new A24 horror movie called Talk to Me, directed by Danny and Michael, I think it's Philippou. Shoot, I just butchered that. It comes out in a few days. I got really lucky and got able to see some free screeners, and I really wanted to talk about it. I was looking forward to this movie so much, man. Like, just the last month, I've been like, okay, dude, I really need a new horror movie. Insidious was decent. I just need one that just goes all in for it. It's very extreme. And I actually had a friend, one of my friends, Luke and Connor, actually, they saw it a few months back in January, actually, at the Sundance Film Festival. They spoke very highly of it. They said it was very extreme, very balls to the wall. It was scary. It had some cool creative moments, very cool depictions of different things. So I was really looking forward to this. And unfortunately, I'm extremely mixed on this. I really need to get into it, and I have no idea how I'm gonna review it, but I guess I'm gonna start. I guess I'm gonna try. So starting out with the good, first off, the cast is incredible here. All the performances, especially the main leads, Sophie Wilde, she was fantastic. She did a really great job of portraying someone who's grieving, who has never really gotten over the death of a family member, who is just really struggling in life and is trying to mask that with joy or little escapes, and just can't seem to find it. And I thought that was very compelling, a very smart way to do a talk to the dead possession horror movie. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was very creative. The opening sequence is fantastic. The opening sequence is really, really good. It's a tracking shot, very well done, very well directed by Danny and Michael. The direction of this movie is fantastic. Every time someone gets possessed, the camera flips back with them, and I thought it was very creative. It's just nice to see so many dynamic camera movements, especially ones that tilt or I don't know, dude. I just like the camera moving, man. I'm a simple man. One of the possession scenes is kind of hyped up, stylized, and there's tilts with the door. I love that, dude. I thought it was awesome. The direction is great. The sound design, actually, I was thinking while I was watching the movie, the sound design was fantastic. Sound design, something that's very underrated in horror movies, but something that's extremely important. And I think they knocked it out of the park here. There's a lot of great muted sounds, a lot of great gargling. That sounds so weird, but I thought it was really good. I thought the sound design was great. I do think that it started off fantastic. The opening scene and then kind of building that tension. You get to know Sophie. Wow, not Sophie Wilde. You get to know Mia and you get to know Jade and Riley and their friends. You get kind of immersed in this Australian friend group, this culture, not friend group because some of them hate each other. It's immersed in this Australian culture, high school culture, I guess. And the story, I think, at first does a great job. I really enjoyed kind of where they were going, where I thought they were going. I enjoyed how they kind of ramped up the tension slowly. There's a few great sequences in here that I very much enjoyed. It's light on jump scares, which I really appreciated after watching Insidious, the Insidious franchise, because it's every 5 minutes, it's dude, come on, give me a break, dude. But I really enjoyed how it was light on jump scares, but very heavy on atmosphere. It was very atmospheric, very focused on getting you immersed in this. Okay, they're in danger, they're in danger. But I do think it wasn't perfect. I think it may have been a little overhyped for me. That's my own fault. I got caught up in the hype. I read some reviews, and I usually try not to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's extreme. It's so extreme. It's not. It's not very extreme, if I'm being quite frank. There's one scene that's pretty wow, that's gnarly. But that's about it. I was kind of let down by this. I'm gonna be honest. The mixed and the negative section will probably be fairly negative. I just don't know how to talk about this movie. It's a movie that has some really high highs, some really great moments, but a lot of it I kind of left feeling underwhelmed. I left being okay, that wasn't. Did I see the same movie people as other people did? Did we watch the same thing? Because it feels like they're describing a different cut than the one I saw, and I'm like, dang, dude, did I miss something? But going into the mixed aspects, just sometimes the soundtrack kind of threw me off. I really enjoyed the ending. I thought it was great, and then it immediately jumps into a needle drop of some rock or Aussie pop song. I didn't quite catch on to it, Aussie rap maybe, but I was just oh, that's kind of a weird choice. Why don't you just let us sit in that ending and let us think about it instead of immediately going to a needle drop? I feel sometimes sometimes the music didn't really work as well as it could have, which is unfortunate because sometimes horror movies have amazing scores, amazing soundtracks. This one, it was decent. It was all right. It had some highs, had some lows, but I really enjoyed like the rules at first, like the gimmick of the embalmed hand that you like clasp it. That's very creative. I liked that. But then as the movie goes on, it kind of like kind of, I don't know, it kind of like breaks the rules a little bit, kind of like messies the rules, it muddies them, and it's not 100% clear on everything. I left the movie feeling a little bit confused, especially about stuff happening in the end of the second act, going into the third act. I think it does get a lot less concise. Actually, it gets kind of muddled, and that kind of bummed me out. Kind of blew my expectations, and just I was just it just wasn't what I wanted it to be, and that's my fault. I fully admit. Maybe there's some horror fans that are gonna adore this movie. There's some people that will just absolutely worship the style, which is fantastic. The limited like scares, the tension. But for me, I was expecting something more extreme. I was expecting something with a little bit more bite, and it really didn't deliver on that. There's a few sequences with some great gore. By a few, I mean like one or two. Personally, I wasn't really impressed with the rest of it. And there's maybe like a few shocking sequences too, but for me, it just didn't do it. I think that especially, I'm going to go into the negatives here. It really loses steam in the second act and going into the third. It really starts to muddle its own rules, muddle the story, and it really lost steam for me, especially because you're so focused on that emotional through line with Mia and her family and her friends, and it just kind of pulls you in a different direction. It kind of like tries to throw you for a loop, and like, oh, is this what's this? What's this? And it didn't work for me. If I'm being honest, I don't like when movies do that. I think it can be when it's pulled off very, very well, but it is hard to do, and it's not very common to be pulled off well. And I feel bad, man. I really wanted to enjoy this movie. I think it's great that a couple of YouTubers in Australia got their shot to make a horror movie with a good budget. It looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic, and I just think the story kind of missed for me a little bit. And the ending, it gets a little confusing. I kind of walked out. I sat there. I was like, okay, what just happened? Like, am I following it correctly? Because it's a slow burn movie, and all of a sudden, just boom, thing after thing after thing after thing. This all happens within the span of like 10 minutes. Everything just erupts, which kind of slow burn is the payoff, but also they could have taken a little bit more time, I think, and let you sit with that ending, let you sit with everything, kind of giving you maybe a few more answers for things. And as far as scares go, it's very light on the scares. Honestly, I wasn't really that scared. There's maybe one or two sequences that I was like, "Ooh, that's freaky." But I think overall, guys, I was just underwhelmed with this movie. It doesn't have the bite that I wanted. It doesn't have a lot of what I wanted, but that's on me. Again, this is just personal preference. I do think they could have used maybe a little bit more bite, a little bit more extreme, maybe up the ante a little bit. It feels like it was towing that line and building up to something, and then about like 2/3 of the way through, it just stops building, and it never gets to where it was 2/3 of the way through. There's like one little part, and then it doesn't seal the deal as well as I think it could have, which is a pretty big bummer for me. I was really looking forward to this, but that by no means is it a bad movie. It looks great, sounds great, and I'm sure there's gonna be tons of people who are gonna really enjoy this. For me, man, I just been burned a little bit too often by A24 horror movies. I just don't think they're my thing. I need to accept that. But I don't know. It was good. It was good, bad. There's a few choices in here that just baffled my mind. Like, people are screaming, things are being thrown around the house, and like people are just like asleep. People in the hospital, people are screaming, and the nurses and the doctors are like, "Y'all hear something?" And it's just like, dude, like, I kind of stuff like that. I'm like, okay, someone would come in, dude. Like, I've been in hospitals before. That shit is not soundproof, dog. Like, at all. So something would happen, but that's just me. I'm just nitpicking at this point. It really didn't affect my score of the movie. Overall, guys, Talk to Me is a fun but flawed movie. I don't think it nails the execution as well as it could have, but it's very well directed. Cinematography is great. I'm going to give it like a 6 out of 10. I'm very mixed on this movie. I'm a little more positive, but I think I'll probably need some time to sit on it and think. Something that's tough about doing reviews, even if it's just for fun, is I'm like, where do I land on this? I don't know. But as always, guys, it's been fun to talk about this If you like the movie, let me know down in the comments below if you're excited for it. Don't let me get you down. If you're excited for it, you should definitely go see it. Support smaller horror movies like this, definitely. If you have something you want me to review, let me know. In the meantime, I'm Carter. Have a great rest of your day.